Hello, and welcome to Kappa's Careers in the Arts series, where we explore the many career opportunities the fine and performing arts have to offer. I'm your host, Amy Handra. Today, I'm coming to you from the historic Lincoln Theater, and we are exploring the career of lighting designer. First, let's talk about what lighting design is and why it's so important. Lighting design goes beyond simply being able to see the stage and the performers. Lighting design also helps to establish the production's time, place, and mood. The lighting design also helps direct the audience's attention to something on stage or away from something. The lighting designer creates the lighting concept and equipment requirements for the production. They work very closely with the production's director and technical director and the other designers, especially the scenic, costume, and projection designers. They create an overall concept to communicate the production's feeling or atmosphere and to direct the audience's attention throughout the performance. And today, we're delighted to be joined by professional lighting designer, Brendan Michna.
So as a lighting designer, I feel that my first job is make sure the actors are seen. It's pretty poor performance if nobody can see what's going on stage. After that base level requirement is finished, then it's more a matter of basically injecting mood and focus into the production, and also giving a sense of place, time, and the general feel of the stage. I got started in the arts actually in junior high school, where I had the prestigious job of bringing paint cans from the van to the stage. It's progressed since then. So all throughout high school, I did a little bit of tech. I built a couple of sets, and I did a little bit of sound design, but mostly I was on stage. I was mostly an actor. I didn't know that I specifically wanted to go into acting, but I enjoyed it. Once I got to college, in my freshman year, I said that, hey, I've done a lot of things backstage by this point. I've never touched a light. I've had no experience with lights. And so my professors at the time were like, great, let's put you on the lighting team. And I found out that I really enjoyed it. There's just something kind of magical about being able to take the stage and completely transform it in a couple of clicks of a few buttons. After college, I took a little break. I had some loans to pay down and what have you, and I worked normal jobs. Then my love of theater crept back in, and I found that I couldn't ignore doing theater. And so I just got involved in local productions. They were, a local avant-garde original works arts troupe brought me in, and I bounced around from a bunch of different troupes. Eventually, I ended up doing some event production work, for fashion shows and small-scale, televised things. And then eventually, one of the troupes that I worked for ended up coming here to the Lincoln Theater, and then I started working here. I love the crew, love the space, and that was 4 years ago, and I am still happy whenever I get back in here. When a troupe of actors have been in a poorly lit rehearsal hall for weeks and weeks and weeks, and they finally get to the stage, and the set's there, and costumes are coming together, and you finally bring up one of those looks that you've been working on, but you haven't actually had on people yet, and they get jazzed, and it improves their performance, and it creates this really great communal energy. So if you're looking at going into lighting design, I would say the most important thing to do is do it. You don't have to wait. You can go to college for it, but you don't have to. Really, you can just try to get in wherever you are. That might mean that you're working for a production company and you're pushing boxes at first. Everybody's going to be loading trucks and unloading trucks at some point in time in their career in the tech side of things. And that's fine. It's good to know those. It's good to know how that team works. But when you get that very entry-level position, a lot of times all it takes is going up to either the lighting director or the production manager or whoever your boss is and say, hey, I'm interested in this. Before you know it, you will probably end up behind a board quicker than you might think, just because there might be a big show that the very experienced lighting designer needs, but there might be an offshoot performance or a smaller venue thing that doesn't have quite the requirements, but still gets you experience behind the board. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're just going to make a couple of looks that we can transition to, just to kind of show how a lighting designer might be able to change the mood and change the overall vibe of a production. So what we're going to start off with is just your basic wash. This could be good for, say, a daytime look or anything where there's a lot of actors on stage, maybe inside where things are really bright and lit. So what I think I'm going to start with is, well, let's see. First off, I kind of like to start with a blackout. For me, as a lighting designer, that means that the stage is dark. It's kind of like wiping the slate clean for me. So first off, what I might add is some nice warm light from up top. So let's see. And we will make this maybe a little bit warmer here. Great. Next up, I think what I'd like to do is add some light onto the cyc. What a cyc is it's very simply just a very large, usually white sheet that is a backdrop along the back of the stage. They're really great because they take light and bounce it really well, so they're excellent at coloring a stage. So for this, let's see, we're gonna turn them on, and maybe I will just go with kind of an orangey look there, like maybe a hot day look. Lastly, so we've got top light, we've got our light on the cyc. There's a bunch of different angles that we could shoot light from, but the most important one to see actors is going to be front light. That will allow us to see the actors' faces and not just look like dark, shadowy fake people. Now, front light takes a bit of finesse to work with, and is usually the thing that you spend a lot of time trying to get right, just to make sure that the actors look right, but also the set looks good and you're not washing everybody out. Alrighty, so I think this would look pretty good. So what I'm going to do is just save this as our first look. Great, and now I can move on. So now, let's say it's maybe the next scene. Let's say the next scene happens at nighttime and perhaps outdoors. Well, how are we going to do that? Well, I think the first thing I'm going to do is, just to make it a little easier so that way I'm not fighting the front light, is I'm just going to turn the front light off. So now it's just the top light and the cyc. The top light, I am going to change to maybe a lighter blue, because it's nighttime and it doesn't make sense for everything to be orange at night. Then I will change the cyc to also a blue. There we are. And maybe I will drop that intensity a bit. Intensity is just how bright the lights are that are hitting it. To kind of give this more of an outdoor vibe is to add in a texture onto the ground. I do this by adding basically some lights that have what's called a gobo in it. It's basically just a metal template that is put in at a very specific point in the light, so that way you can shoot shapes out onto the stage. So the cool thing about that is a lot of times you'll see leaf templates are very popular because they give you that outdoorsy feel. So There we go. So now we've got a little bit of a light breakup or so, and I might just bring this intensity down a little bit so that way it's not too overpowering. And then again, finally, the last thing that I like to add is the front light, and to balance that out without washing out the rest of the stage. At, let's say 75%. I am going to change that color a little bit to again make it a little bit more nighttime-y. Right about there. And there we are. Now we've gone from our warm daytime look, and we've built a nighttime look. The nice thing is, once I hit record this as Q2, now we can shift in between those two at the click of a button, which is pretty cool. Okay, so we've got a nice nighttime look, a great daytime look, and we might even base future looks off of these two looks. So use this as kind of our building blocks. But let's say that we have something that's very different. Let's say that we want to, maybe the evil person comes out midway through and, it's a big dramatic moment. So for that, since this is going to be very different, I'm going to again wipe the slate clean. Q0, All right, there we are in a blackout again. For top light this time, I think I'm gonna go with something like red. So we'll start it here, and that's close, but let's go a little bit more red. There we are. Let's see. The backlight, let's also, the light on the cyc, let's also go red. And bring up the red channel and take out the blue channel. Great. And then finally, the last light, perhaps I will add in a bottom light. Basically just, this could be a LED that is in the set. By LED, I mean color changing light. So for this one, so we've got that, and then let's record this as Q3, enter, and all of those changes are saved. So now, once again, we can quickly snap through our looks, and the computer just remembers them. And then finally, let's maybe end up with something that's a little bit more simple. Sometimes the best lighting looks only really require one or two lights. So to do that, I think I'm going to go to a complete blackout again. And then let's see here. Let's just try, a single light. And then for like a silhouette look or just a top light. And then let's also add in maybe a little bit of cyc light just to kind of give that a bit of texture. So I will go with full. Red's not going to work too well. So what we'll do is we'll bring this back and maybe add in a little bit of blue. And you know what? I've got some of those templates that are on the cyc itself. And so we can add that in. So now we have a very, very different look from what we just ended up with. So again, I'll record this. And there we go. Now we've got 4 incredibly different feels and vibes and focuses that we can snap to very quickly.
So, as you learned from Brendan today, the lighting designer is critical to the success of a production. For today's extension activity, I'm going to give you a scene, and I'm going to challenge you to create the lighting design. When you create your lighting design, be sure to think about what your focal point or focal points might be, what colors, shapes, and textures you might use to create the atmosphere or feeling, and how you'll establish the time, place, and mood. Okay, here's the scene. On a boat, stranded in the middle of the ocean, a group of 6 sailors are frantically devising a rescue plan before the storm clouds in the distance unleash a massive storm. To learn more about today's career, visit kappa.com for additional resources. And be sure to join us next time when we explore another career in the arts.